You accept your paycheck without questioning it. The number arrives, you trust it. You accept prices without questioning them. You accept that some things are affordable and others are not. Everyone does this. No meeting, no vote, no announcement, just agreement. Millions of people wake up every day and organize their lives around numbers on screens, not because someone forces them, because everyone expects everyone else to do the same. Money works because people follow the rules, not because it has power, because people give it power. And the moment people stop following the rules, the numbers stop meaning anything. You check your bank balance before making a normal decision. Nothing unusual about that. You look at the number and decide what today allows. That feels responsible. You wait for payday before committing to anything larger. That feels disciplined. You organize your life around what the number permits. That feels mature. Every bill gets paid on time. Every subscription renews automatically. Every expense fits inside the pattern you built. You are not reckless. You are not ignoring reality. You are doing exactly what the system expects responsible people to do. Work, earn, pay, repeat. The routine feels stable. Stability feels like progress. Predictability feels like safety. Nothing feels wrong. You trust that the number in your account represents something solid. You trust that everyone else sees it the same way. You trust that tomorrow it will still work. That trust makes planning possible. It makes long-term thinking possible. It makes modern life possible. Most people never question this. They just operate inside it. They accept the structure because it works. They accept the rules because everyone else does. And over time, the routine becomes automatic. You stop thinking about why money works. You just assume it does. Assumption becomes habit, and habit becomes structure. The system doesn't need reminders. It doesn't need enforcement. It only needs continuation. And every normal day quietly provides it. Most people believe money works because it has value. That feels obvious. You trade time for income. You trade income for things. That feels logical. You assume the number represents effort. You assume the price represents worth. That feels fair. Nobody explains this. It just feels true. From childhood, you learn the pattern. Work leads to money. Money leads to security. Security leads to stability. The story feels natural. You don't question why everyone accepts the same system. You just notice that everyone does. Stores accept it, employers pay it, landlords require it, governments measure it. Every major decision routes through it. That consistency builds confidence. Confidence builds belief. Belief builds participation. And participation keeps everything predictable. People think money controls behavior because it has power, but most never ask where that power comes from. They assume it comes from value. They assume it comes from economics. They assume it comes from authority. That assumption feels safe because if money only works because people believe in it, then something else becomes true, something uncomfortable. The system does not run on force, it runs on acceptance, and acceptance is much easier to maintain than force. The system does not need people to love money, it only needs people to rely on it. Your paycheck arrives on the same day each month. Your bills leave on predictable dates. Your rent, your insurance, your subscriptions all expect consistency. Predictability becomes the reward. Stability becomes the goal. Consistency gets rewarded. The more predictable your behavior becomes, the easier everything feels. Employers reward reliability. Banks reward steady income. Landlords reward payment history. Platforms reward continuous use. Every structure favors people who stay inside the pattern, not because someone planned it this way, because stable systems naturally reward stable behavior. And stable behavior means following the rules. You learn this without being told. Risk feels expensive. Stability feels intelligent. Change feels dangerous. So you optimize for continuity. You protect the income. You avoid disruption. You protect access to the system. Because once your life depends on predictable inflow, staying compatible with the system becomes the safest move. Safety becomes alignment, and alignment slowly turns into dependency. Not forced, not announced, just reinforced through incentives that quietly reward staying inside the structure. What feels like stability is also an exchange. You gain predictability, you give up flexibility. You gain income consistency, you lose decision freedom. The trade does not feel dramatic, it feels practical. You accept the rules because the alternative feels risky. You follow the structure because it reduces uncertainty. Safety has a price. The more your life depends on stable money flow, the more disruption becomes dangerous. Changing jobs becomes harder. Taking risks becomes harder. Pausing income becomes harder. Not because you cannot, because too many systems now expect continuity. Payments expect continuity. Obligations expect continuity. Access expects continuity. The structure quietly assumes you will keep participating, and the longer you participate, the more normal this feels. You stop seeing the exchange happening. Stability feels free, but it is not free. It is purchased with optionality. Every predictable benefit comes with an invisible trade. More structure, less maneuverability. More reliability, less freedom to step outside the pattern. Flexibility gets traded away, not suddenly, gradually, quietly, through decisions that all felt reasonable at the time. The system does not need to trap people directly. It only needs to make leaving feel expensive. Your access to housing depends on payment history. Your access to credit depends on consistency. Your access to opportunities depends on financial stability. Every layer connects to the next layer. Miss one layer and pressure appears elsewhere. Not punishment, just friction. Friction changes behavior. You begin protecting your position inside the system. You avoid anything that could interrupt the flow. You delay decisions that introduce uncertainty. You choose safer paths even when better options exist. Not because someone orders you to, because disruption now carries consequences. And the more systems connected to your financial identity, the more careful you become. Careful becomes cautious. Cautious becomes compliant. Compliance becomes invisible. You are not following rules because someone explained them. You are following rules because the structure makes alternatives uncomfortable. The constraint is not force. The constraint is consequence. And consequence is enough. Because when enough parts of life depend on the same structure, leaving stops feeling like freedom. It starts feeling like risk. Risk becomes deterrent. At first, nothing feels restricted. You still make your own choices. You still control your direction. You still believe you could change paths if needed. That belief feels true until you start mapping what change would actually require. Months without income, loss of payment history, interrupted stability signals. Each one closes small doors. Not locked, just harder to open. Options quietly shrink. You notice how many decisions now depend on staying compatible with the system. Where you live depends on income proof. What risks you take depend on saving stability. How freely you move depends on financial continuity. Each layer connects your future choices to present participation. And the longer you stay inside the structure, the more alignment gets rewarded. The more alignment gets rewarded, the harder deviation becomes. Not impossible, just costly. And cost changes behavior faster than rules ever could. Because people rarely resist rules, but they almost never resist consequences. So optionality compresses slowly. Fewer safe exits, higher dependency, greater need for continuation. The structure doesn't need walls. It only needs enough connections that leaving feels unsafe. Dependency becomes normal. And this is the part most people never see.
Money does not control behavior because it forces people. It controls behavior because people continue agreeing. Every paycheck accepted, every bill paid, every price trusted, each one quietly reinforces the same structure. The system does not need belief from everyone, only enough. Agreement is enough.